Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. Let's clap for them. Shukran, shukran. So thank you very much. Now I want to invite our President to invite Her Excellency, the First Lady of Makueni.
I think after doing that Zumba, we are feeling better. It should be made compulsory for all KOGS meetings. I cannot remember my mother. Only sometime in the midst of my play, a tune seems to hover over my playthings. The tune of some song that she used to hum while rocking my cradle. I cannot remember my mother, but when in the early autumn morning, the smell of the shiuli flowers floats in the air, the scent of the morning service in the temple comes to me as the scent of my mother. I cannot remember my mother, only when from my bedroom window, I send my eyes into the blue of the distant sky. I feel that stillness of my mother's gaze on my face has spread all over the sky. The death of a mother is something that impacts the children that have been left behind. Sometimes a cycle of poverty is created, which is difficult to break even after to the third and maybe even to the fourth generation. Today we are privileged here to have a mother who has taken up the role of advocacy and who wants to make sure that no mothers die during delivery and even after delivery. It is a rare privilege that we have such a lady of high position taking such a position, taking such an interest and enthusiastically running with it. And I have the pleasure of inviting Madam Excellency Anita Mutula to come and tell us what she has done and what she's doing and what she would like to do in the future. Thank you.
The CS Health Representative, Dr. Bashir Isaac, Makueni Governor, His Excellency Mutula Kilonzo Jr., FIGO President, Dr. Ann Kihara, FIGO Scientific Committee Chair, Pro Lunisa, KOGS President, Dr. Onesmus Kireki, UNICEF County Director Representative, Dr. Laura Oyeng, Chiromo Hospital Group Director, Dr. Frank Jenga, distinguished guests, and esteemed professionals in the field of maternal health, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. It is my profound gratitude and a sense of duty that I stand before you today, representing Makueni County, not only as the Ramka Plus Nutrition Champion, but also a collective force dedicated to the advancement of Ramka and family planning across Kenya. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynaecological Society for the honor of addressing this esteemed gathering, the 48th KOGS Annual Congress, under the resonating theme, Reimagining Reproductive and Mental Health for Universal Health Coverage from Bench to Bedside and Beyond. This theme resonates deeply with the core principles driving our national agenda on UHC. We recognize that reproductive health is not a siloed endeavor, but rather intricately intertwined with mental well-being, social economic factors, and other broader determinants of health. We, as stewards of healthcare, must adopt a holistic approach that addresses the multifaceted needs of individuals and communities. As a woman, a mother, and the First Lady of Makueni County, I am a passionate champion and advocate for Ramka Plus Nutrition. As such, I work closely with our Department of Health Services to improve the lives of women and girls in Makueni County. The government of Makueni County has invested heavily in health and made huge strides towards achieving holistic reproductive health for all. This can be demonstrated by the enactment of the Makueni County Reproductive Health and Family Planning Act 2019. A strategic advancement in the establishment of the program, as well as the management and coordination of the RH/FP initiatives in the county. This commitment is further demonstrated by the steady increase in the county's health budget allocation from 26% in 2013 to 34% in 2023. Through this act, the county has been able to ring-fence resources specific to the family planning program. However, challenges persist within Makueni County's reproductive health scope. This includes a high rate of stunting at 25%, coupled with pregnancy rates, teenage pregnancy rates of 11%, is a precursor of complications such as obstetric fistula, which is common in the county. Often, our health system focuses on the physical aspects of medical conditions, ignoring the accompanying mental health issues. Other challenges include a high neonatal mortality rate of 26 newborn per 1,000 live births and low uptake of postpartum family planning. Due to these challenges, and as a Ramka Plus Nutrition champion, I have come in strongly in supporting the county through collaboration with various players at all levels. Through this initiative, Anita Binya Foundation was born out of passion to bridge the gap that exists between the underprivileged and vulnerable groups, especially women and children. Our vision is to seek a world of hope, tolerance, and social justice, where poverty has been overcome and people live in dignity and security. I wish to share with you a short story of a lady called Mwende, not her real name. Mwende is a mother of 6 children. The youngest is 9 months. She delivered her youngest at a health facility and developed obstetric fistula. This occurred due to prolonged labor. With the support of JAPIGO programs, Mwende was successfully treated for fistula and cancelled on post-pregnancy family planning. She ended up taking a long-term contraceptive method, which gives her time to recover and return to normal life. Mwende's story is not unique, nor is it unheard of. Therefore, allow me to shed more light on the pivotal role of post-pregnancy family planning, also known as PPFP. PPFP stands as a beacon of hope, a high-impact practice that not only saves lives, but also catalyzes transformative change across generations. Additionally, evidence unequivocally demonstrates that access to PPFP services can significantly reduce maternal and newborn deaths. PPFP empowers women to make informed decisions about their reproductive futures, enhancing their autonomy, agency, and social economic opportunities. This is about healthy spacing and timing of pregnancies. The ripple effects of PPFP extend far beyond individual health outcomes, permeating through families, communities, and societies at large. Towards achieving holistic reproductive health, Makueni County is collaborating with key partners such as Japaigo, Nutrition International, Jacaranda Health, PATH, Think Well, VSO, amongst others. This 48th annual KOGS Congress theme, From Bench to Bedside and Beyond, encapsulates the essence of our collective endeavor. It reminds us that our pursuits of universal health coverage must transcend the confines of clinical settings, extending into communities, households, and the broader social fabric. It calls upon us to harness the full spectrum of our expertise, resources, and ingenuity to address the underlying determinants of health and promote holistic well-being. As we embark upon the deliberations and engagements of this Congress, let us heed the call to action that resonates with this whole. Let us commit ourselves to reimagining reproductive and mental health for universal health coverage, guided by principles of equity, dignity, and solidarity. Let us draw inspiration from the successes of the past and the aspirations of the future, knowing that the journey towards UHC is not a destination, but a continuous pursuit of excellence. In conclusion, I am reminded of the words of Nelson Mandela, who famously said, "Health cannot be a question of income. It is a fundamental human right." Let us therefore rededicate ourselves to the noble cause of ensuring that every woman, every child, and every family has access to the highest attainable standard of health and well-being. Together, let us forge a future where PPFP is not just a practice, but a promise of health, of hope, and of dignity for all. May we all embark on this transformative journey hand in hand. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Madam Governor. Thank you. I would like to quickly introduce my council. I do not work alone. This has not been done by me, but by a whole council. We have Professor Obimbo, the Secretary General. We have Dr. Dano Luoch, Chairman of Western Branch. We have Dr. Kigondu, KMA President and also Chairman of Central. We have Dr. Mogeni Richard from Northrift. We have Dr. Kennedy Onyango, Kisumu Branch. I do not see Dr. Tisa here. Oh, Dr. Tisa is there. Dr. Kairidhi from Nairobi. Dr. Kairidhi is not here. And we also have Dr. Ruth Wamai, the money person. Thank you very much, Council, for making this possible. We do not work alone. It's very good when we have government in the house. And today we have different governments. We have county governments, and we also have the national government. So I'd like to invite Dr. Bashir, who will stand in for the Permanent Secretary of Health. Dr. Bashir, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our Governor for Makueni, His Excellency Mutula Kuzunso Jr., the First Lady for Makueni County, Ms. Anita Kilonzo, the President of FIGO, Professor Ann Beatrice Kihara, the President of KOGS, Dr. Kireki, UNICEF representative Dr. Laura Oyengo, Professor Dr. Frank Njenga, our keynote speaker, and Dr. Davji from our union. Our teachers and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon again. I think they should have been given some tea before we close the meeting or open the meeting. I'm honored to be here to represent our Cabinet Secretary who has sent in her apologies because of exigencies of duties, and our PS who was also destined to come here. But because of other important critical health issues that they are to attend to, they were not able to be here with us, but they're here with us in spirit. And I want to recognize our colleagues from the Ministry of Health. I know there are quite a number of obstetricians. Dr. Keegan, please stand up, the National Health, Ministry of Health staff who are here. Yeah. It's also a privilege to have many gynecologists in the Ministry of Health. So if you point fingers to the Ministry of Health, you know you're pointing fingers at yourself. But we will ably represent not only the society, but our mandate and agenda, which has been bestowed upon us. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin with the theme of reimagining reproductive and mental health for UHC from bedside beyond. It can't be much befitting than this time when as a country we are really on the track to realize our 40-year dream of universal health coverage. As a Ministry of Health, give us the credits when it's due. The UHC agenda and the Social Health Authority with the 4 pillars of the bills are steps that really can unlock our dream of achieving what we want for every Kenyan to have as per our constitution. The constitution says the highest standards of health care for every individual, including reproductive health. And why reproductive health was put standalone just shows you the magnitude of the responsibilities that we have as experts in this field and as also governments. Reproductive health is not being put standalone, not for any other reason, but it is the bulk of the burden in our health that we are trying to deal with. Mental health is a reality. It's a reality at the workplace. We realize that 50% of our mental health issues happen at the workplace. And gynecologists have been flagged as people who suffer from a lot of mental health issues at workplace because of the workload, because of the stressful situation which you are working into, whether it is a facility or the condition itself. You can all attest to the fact that when you get a PPH, when you get a mother with a PPH, and you are a responsible gynecologist, you will get palpitations, isn't it? Won't you get palpitations? When you get an eclamptic mother Will you really sleep? When a mother is in labor, and I don't know why nature has put that all labors should be at night, will you sleep? How many of you are getting the 8-hour sleep that a normal human being should get as gynecologist? Yes? None. And therefore, we are number one in terms of living a very unhealthy mental stress at workplace. And we need to improve on that. If it's not gynecologists who can be in the forefront, then nobody else will take that challenge. Mental health for our clients is critical. And as a ministry, we have guidelines which we've done, integrating mental health in maternal and child health. And this is because when the mother is stressed, even during pregnancy, this stress passes over to the newborn or to the fetus, newborn, and affects the potential growth and health of this future generation. And of course, you know, the postpartum depression and the teenage pregnancies that people are talking about here, it's a reality. 50% of our maternal mortality are adolescent mothers. And it's because they have not been prepared and their body is not ready to accept that. So as a ministry, we have proper mechanisms in place, and we want the Obstetricians and Gynaecological Society to take lead, because you are everywhere now. Before, we never used to be everywhere. We used to be concentrated around Nairobi and the big towns. But today, I can attest, thanks to devolution, that we have gynecologists in every county, if not every sub-county. And therefore, you need to be the ambassadors of this agenda of maternal child health as a profession. I hear Professor ABC saying that even environmental health is our role. We have a role to play in environmental health. And therefore, the responsibilities on us as gynecologists is far more than any medical fraternity, because we deal with a transition of the mother to the baby, and we deal with it at a very emotive and stressful time, when if you don't do anything, then you lose lives. In this time and era, and in this age of our nation's development, we cannot accept a mother losing her life while giving birth. It's unacceptable. We know some countries have done it. We have invested as a nation in the last decade or 15 years. We have done some achievements on skilled birth attendance from 40s to 89%. But why does that increase in coverage not translate to reduction in mortality? Here now, we realize, yes, we have managed to mobilize. We have managed to remove the financial barriers for delivering. They come and die in our own facilities. Now, when they die in our own facilities, it really points fingers at us, at the health system people, from gynecologists to the nurses, to the managers, to the county governments, to the national government. And now, as a country, we are embarking on addressing the issue of quality of care. And quality of care is not just the clinical quality of care. It begins from the setup of the facility, the leadership of the facility, the governance of the facility, and the availability of the tools of trade for the professionals, not forgetting the capacity and the skills of those who are entitled to undertake those tasks. So this term's survey on the Kenya Health Service Delivery Assessment now is only focused on quality of care. It's beginning next week. When they come to you in the facilities, please respond, be part of the survey, and give us the issues, the challenges that you are facing, so that we can use this to look at the next policies for future implementation. Quality of care bill is something that we've started on Monday in Naivasha. We are coming up with a quality of care bill. This is because we find that it is something that important, because if you have all these investments in health and you are not reaping the results, it is paramount that we get a standalone, independent body that can deal with the quality of care and not ourselves. We cannot police ourselves. We have an entity that can supervise, that's accountable, that can make us accountable as health system or health managers. And therefore, that is coming. Please don't delay, just as we delayed on the SHA bill, that we are poking a lot of holes now. This thing has been there. It will undergo public participation. The SHA itself is undergoing public participation now as we speak this week. And this one will come to that time. Please stand up and ensure that you give your input, because most of those things, if you handle maternal and child care, you handle 60-70% of the quality of care that you deal with. As a ministry also, we listen. We listen. Our policies are evidence-based. We just don't pick things from the streets. And fortunately, many of the studies that are of global magnitude, that transform the global architecture of interventions, Kenya is part of it. With Professor Chairman of the Scientific FIGO Scientific Committee, I can attest to the fact that we have the capacity to ensure that we take over the FIGO conference in South Africa, because most of these studies that globally being used to change the dynamics of interventions in maternal health, Kenya has its major contribution. One case that I would want to mention is the E-motive study. Professor Qureshi and her core teams, we congratulate you and we are grateful that you come from here. And she has a lot she has mentored that can really do us proud in that conference. E-motive is a global study that works on PPH, and our number one killer is PPH. As a ministry, we are taking up this for scale up. In every county, we should have, in the next few months, we are going to launch something that we should have E-motive and PPH intervention and implementation happening in all the counties. The second one, which we are looking at, is point of care ultrasound. This, as gynecologists, we have to accept that we cannot be everywhere, and we need to share the responsibilities, what's called the task sharing. Task sharing is one of the WHO's recommendations, where we can share some of the tasks that were previously at the purview of specific cadres, and it makes a difference. We have allowed the CHPs, the community health promoters, an army of 100,000 people, to give us the data from what's happening in the households and connect us to our clients rather than us sitting and expecting them to come. This army of community health promoters have a 14 modular clinical trainings for them to understand and reach out to the clientele that you want to reach, so that they can come to our facilities and we can deal with them early enough in the preventive and promotive perspective. So point of care ultrasound and AI use of the technology is something that's a reality. Let us be open and allow our other health cadres who are available, who can reach our client, to be able to do this. And this is also one of the interventions that as a ministry we are considering of scaling it up. When it comes to your term, please facilitate and be part of the trainings. Government cannot take all responsibilities. When the budget comes, you know, every ministry and every state department will want its fair share. Security is there, education is there, health is there. So we cannot expect government to 100% foot its bill. We have tried. We are not where we need to be. We are not close to where we need to be as government. And we have transition clauses in all the donor-funded projects, the strategic commodities and programs, the HIV/AIDS, malaria, TB, family planning, vaccination. All these donors are going to roll up their, mat, and they're going back expecting Kenya to take up its responsibility of domestically funding all this. These are in the sense of billions. When that happens, maybe health docket alone will require the national budget in itself, or 80-90% of the health budget, for us to achieve our dreams. The Social Health Authority that we have, that has 4 bills: the Social Health Authority Bill, the Digital Health Bill, the FIF, Finance Bill for the counties, plus the Primary Health Care Bill. All these bills are an effort to ensure that we realize our dreams of covering every Kenyan without really suffering financial catastrophes. You know, as professionals, that every week a colleague or a family member is up for Harambee because of a catastrophic expenditure in their health. We may have some flaws because we are human beings, but the opportunity to correct those flaws is now, because we are doing the public participation this week. And before it goes to Parliament for ratification, we want to have where we have flawed, fixed, because this is a vehicle and we cannot throw the baby with the bath, water. It was our dream to have universal health coverage. And this is our opportunity to ensure that this works. When we start, it looks good. Wherever the other issues, the fear of the private or public facilities, is things we can address in the regulations. And we still can amend the act, but let's not throw the whole thing out of, or take us back to court and it becomes a standstill. Universal health coverage is a dream of every Kenyan. It's the right of every Kenyan. Let's work together as professionals, as unions, as government civil servants, or as politicians, so that it can work. We have tried to ensure that the Linda Maternity Fund is not transited immediately, because we allowed transition. It is still there in the budget. It was still there for another year, I think, because we allow transition to take its course. And when you start something new, you expect challenges. When we pronounced the free maternity package, you remember our facilities were not prepared to receive all those. But we had to take that step. Unless we took those steps, we would not have addressed those issues. Today we have a skilled birth attendant of 89-90%. And we can take it to 98% with this universal health coverage. So let's fix the little flaws that we have and allow this vehicle to move us all to prosperity. We expect registration from 1st of March, and everything is going to be digital. So the Digital Health Bill Act and the Social Health Insurance Authority are going in tandem. Why? Because we cannot afford always to be using the paper. It's an era of technology, and we have the capacity. If M-Pesa is in every village, why can't we automate our health systems in totality? From the community level, individual registration, all the way to the claims and the accreditation of the health facilities for the quality of care. So with those few remarks, I want to welcome gynecologists on this journey of SHA and help us preach the gospel in the right manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, national government, for that information and for your very insightful information about what is coming. It is my great pleasure now to invite His Excellency, the Governor of Makueni. It is a privilege and honor for me to be here to introduce him And it's a privilege and honor for you to be with us. And we want to thank you for being with us. Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr., please come to officially open our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I know what that means. It's time for tea. A lot has been said. First, let me give a caveat. I was not supposed to open this ceremony. I was just around and I agreed. And I'll give the reason why I agreed to do so. But thank you, President. Thank you, team of doctors, obstetricians, gynecologists, for allowing us to participate in this as Makueni County. From my previous life, I can make declarations. Now, KOGS has a new KOG. That new KOG is called Makueni County. So we want to make our commitment to this cause so that every time you are discussing these matters, consider us part of your team. You are a new KOG. It brings me to the second issue. I had a meeting with, this morning I had the privilege of speaking about PPH. And this afternoon, just after my speech, I spoke to the manufacturers of the heat stable carbetocin that we are piloting in Makueni. And it bothered me a little when I had a discussion with them about this. Kenya has taken 3 years to allow that in. 3. How many women lost their lives because they could not access heat stable carbetocin, oxytocin that was destroyed? How many? It brings to the fore the question and the challenge that I'm going to leave at KOGS today. The leadership of this country at all levels should be on this table to discuss these matters. These matters can no longer now be discussed amongst yourselves, because these statistics are so well known to you. So you're actually preaching to the choir the whole day. You're just singing to the choir and they are dancing. But the people who need to hear these messages, the speech made by yourself, the First Lady, and everybody else in this team, are the politicians, the leaders. And they are not here. And they don't understand. And I mentioned this afternoon that between family planning and PPH, the politicians can't distinguish between the tree and the bushes. As far as they're concerned, it's the same thing. Because there's a P, there's a H, and they don't want to understand what that P and the H means. So, Madam President, can I request that you get that family of politicians like me into these discussions? And I say so because at a national level, when we are planning, we plan with units, correct? We say a sublocation, a location, what you call bottom up, isn't it? At counties, our bottom up is what's coming up, isn't it? But at a family level, what is your planning unit? It is the family. And I said the center of that family is the woman. If we think that way, then this discussion and what we are doing here must be given priority. There is something in the Constitution that is never discussed, because when you flip the pages, you will miss it. There's a right that nobody ever discusses. That right is called the right to human dignity. Insofar as this discussion is concerned, the woman must have the right to deliver in a facility that has got the equipment, that has got the commodities, and has got the personnel. We must call that a fundamental right. So that the following right, which is called the right to life, becomes the forefront of our advocacy. Because when the woman is not given dignity and dies in the process of giving birth, then the right to life is denied. It's a serious issue. So, allow me to declare this conference officially opened with those remarks. Thank you very much.
I think, Your Excellency, you are the best thing that has happened to KOGS in the last 48 years. And we hope that these blessings will continue and that you will bring more like-minded governors to the table, because Kenyans are suffering, mothers are suffering, mothers are dying, children are dying because of lack of some of these things. So we are grateful, and we are going to pray for you that you bring more of the same to the table. Thank you very much for declaring this Congress officially open. The title of our Congress is about mental health, and there is no better person who can talk about mental health than Dr. Frank Njenga. Dr. Frank Njenga is a fellow emeritus of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. For the last 41 years, he has served in many roles in Kenya and the world at large. He is a renowned psychiatrist, having trained in psychiatry at the world-famous Maudsley Hospital in London. He taught at the University of Nairobi before moving on to private practice. Guess which year? 1983. That is when he moved into private practice, a long time ago. Dr. Frank Njenga is the presidential advisor on mental health in Kenya, and he's also the chairman of Chiromo Hospital Group, and recently chaired the National Task Force on Mental Health in Kenya. If there's any sterling requirements or any sterling requirements for somebody to talk about mental health, it's Dr. Frank Njenga. We are privileged that Dr. Frank Njenga accepted to come and be our keynote speaker. And we are grateful because mental health affects women right from teenage all the way to menopause. And we are privileged that you are here to share your knowledge about mental health with us. Karibu sana, Dr. Frank Njenga. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Holy Bible is very clear on many things. One of the things that it is most clear about is what happens to the elderly. This is what the Bible says: you would be led by the young to directions and places you have no wish to go to. I think it's been demonstrated very well. Mara zungumzia pale, mara njoo hapa, sasa nitaambiwa sasa nyamaza. Jameni. But ladies and gentlemen, I have to say that I have a bubble to burst. I have a bubble to burst because, unlike the expectations of many here, I am the bearer of good news. And I am a bearer of good news in the way that I will demonstrate to you as follows. Where in the world do you find a keynote speaker, no, a person from government opening a meeting and speaking for less than 3 minutes, except in Kenya? Where in the world do you get a first lady of a county to stand and speak with gravitas on and by the way, Mheshimiwa, I know your county very well, and you people think wrongly that it is on Makueni is only a leader with respect to gynecology and obstetrics. Mental health is number one in the entire country. Kweli Rongo. There is no county in Kenya that is doing as well as Makueni as far as science and research. Where else in the world do you have ABC professor leading the entire world as we have our own sister right here? Some of you will imagine that because Ochiel is old, I am old, that there is no more leadership in this country. Our very own president of KMPDU has spoken with unusual conviction and clarity, and essentially told me, Professor Ojuang and all these wazee hapa, relax, the future of our country is in safe hands. Now, what else does a parent want? Oh, I hear people saying, oh, in Kenya there is leadership crisis. Oh, we have you. Look at Bwana President here. How can anybody worry about this, our republic, when you have young men leading in positions as we have in Kenya? Ladies and gentlemen, I am a bearer of good news. There is no country like Kenya. We are unique and we are going places. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, next slide, please. The other piece of good news, let's move the next slide, is that I am the last speaker this afternoon. And really, I will be very, very brief like the governor here, because I have realized less is always more. Now, I have titled this presentation, contrary to all the instructions I had received, "The Gynecologist as the Gatekeeper for Mental Health." The truth is, and this has been said by others before me, more than any other professional, you are the true gatekeepers for mental health in any society, and Kenya in particular. I will explain what I mean by that. It is to you that women, our mothers, our sisters, our wives come to before conception. And they come with problems of infertility, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, a very serious condition that I shall be returning to, endometriosis. The number of women with endometriosis that Steve Ochiel and I have looked after in our rather long life is legendary, because a lot of times it is assumed that a lady with endometriosis is pretending because of the poverty of the skills of diagnosis. So there are a lot of times that women will come to you and there will be an interface between psychiatrists and you in obstetrics and gynecology. It is perhaps in recognition of that, and this is more good news. I will keep pointing good news. Violet, stand up. This is one of my better students, Violet Okech. She's a chief psychiatrist. Don't, Salimia. In recognition, please sit down, Violet. This is the chief psychiatrist at Kenyatta National Hospital, Kweli Urongo. It is now recognized in this country that in the biggest national referral hospital, there is a need to have a chief psychiatrist. And thank you for coming to listen to me. I'm shocked. It's not for me to tell you, because you will teach me, that pregnancy itself, once you've been successful and pregnancy has occurred, there are all those listed challenges that come your way. Again, we have been told by the experts who are here about all the challenges that occur around the time of delivery. And I'll be coming back in some more detail about the issues of psychosis and other conditions that visit mothers in this, our country. It has been emphasized, in my very humble view correctly, that if we don't look after mothers, we have lost the plot. The first 1,000 days of a child are spent in very close proximity to the mother. Science is very clear on what happens when a mother is depressed. The rate of immunizations are down. The rate of breastfeeding are down. Infections, for example, diarrheal diseases and malaria, are higher in depressed mothers, and so on. So whatever we do as a country, if we have a view of a future for our children, it is imperative that we start with the mothers whose responsibility it is to look after the children in the first 1,000 days. This is not Jenga science. This is Cambridge science done right here in this country. So if you want to prevent diarrheal diseases, water is very important, but also make sure that you don't have depressed mothers. Next slide, please. Now, there's something that, a new word. I was here invited as a teacher, and I have accepted to come in as a teacher. There is something we now call ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And again, adverse childhood experiences are the substance of what happens in the home, where the mother is in charge. And I want to shock you, because you have not been shocked today, by telling you that when you expose your children or grandchildren to adverse experiences in childhood under the age of 17, you are preparing them for poor performance at school. So looking after mothers actually means that you are improving school performance. Adverse childhood experiences are related to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and strokes in later lives. So if you want to kill people, treat mothers badly. We've been told time without number about early pregnancy. The last bullet point is worth looking at because it's about difficulties in relationships. There's a very old publication in the 70s that talks about cycles of deprivation, meaning that I can create a vicious cycle of deprivation by ensuring that mothers are not looked after. And the consequence of that is that the next generation, as we have been told, will also go into suffering. So when you create a mentally, next slide please, a mentally safe environment for mothers, we are being selfish. We are being selfish because we are preparing ourselves to be mindful of generations that are coming. And again, the governor has mentioned this. The family unit is the first and most important unit that builds the nation for us. The last bullet point, for example, parental separation, is part of the adverse childhood experiences that will in later life realize itself as attempt at suicide, and so on. Kenyans, quite rightly, are obsessed with education. Steve Ochiel and I entered university the same day. Perhaps another shock is indicated. On the 4th of July, 1970. 1970, I don't know why you're working, Mutulu. Yes. But, I don't know, but that's such is life. But it's a thought, very good thought. But we spend so much time and money and effort bringing together school fees. But the first contact at university, particularly, I don't know about these days, girls who came from Gandu, entered the city without any exposure to any form of education. You know, from Gandu, I'm sorry, apologize. Thank God for you. But really, it all boils down to how we look after our mothers and our girls if we are going to perform well at university. Next slide, please. This list of specific examples, I hope the organizers will send these slides. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them. I will only look at one or two of the specific conditions, but these are the conditions that you as obstetricians and gynecologists will see long before I see them. Remember that our sisters, our mothers, and our wives come to you only because they trust you. Your consultation as an obstetrician, literally, is the most intimate encounter between two unrelated human beings. You want me to say that again? Yeah? There is no greater intimacy between human beings who are unrelated than between an obstetrician. Hiyo ndio kuambia toa nguo na unatoa kwa furaha, alafu mnamlipa mnaenda. It is there. Sorry. Actually, Mheshimiwa is the one who finished the sentence. Me, I was not going to finish it. Ati alafu nalipa. So it is shauri yenu. So it is to you that they will come when they have depression. It is to you that they will come when they have had issues with their husbands at home or are traumatized in some other ways. It is you are the true custodian of the emotional state of all women. It is a failure on my part, guilty as charged, not to have forced a curriculum on mental health to all graduates of obstetrics and gynecology. When I get back to power, inshallah, it will be a requirement that nobody graduates in obstetrics and gynecology until they are exposed properly to mental health. Because that is the primary job that you do. You look after our sisters' mental health. Next slide, please. Let me continue shocking you, because I have seen one or two people trying to doze off. It will come as a surprise to some of you that 75% of all recognizable mental disorders can be recognized by the age of 24. 50% of all mental disorders can be recognized by the age of 14 years. The fact that we don't recognize them is not evidence of absence. It is evidence of our ignorance. And when you look at the next one, 20% of all women that come to you obstetricians and gynecologists will have a common mental disorder: depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. The fact that you don't know it and all you do is to examine her and send her back home is evidence that I have work to do to persuade you that you need to go an extra mile to identify. A quarter of women who come to you will at one point or another have harmed themselves. 14% of all the women that come to you, 14%, have post-traumatic stress disorder of one sort or another. Do I need to go on? Do you see you have not been exposed to mental health and therefore you are missing depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder? Doesn't mean they are not there. It means that there's a lot of work to be done. 36% of the women who will come and cry in your offices and say that I have been abused by my partner, I have been abused by this other person, 36% of them will attempt to die by suicide. Are you shocked? Thank you. We shall now proceed. Now, our sisters who are your patients, our wives and our mothers, are very special. This you already know. Probably that's why you went to Obs and Gynae. They are more likely than men to be carers. Nothing wrong with that. Generally speaking, the world over, they are more likely to live in greater poverty than men. Perhaps not surprisingly, and perhaps the reason for higher levels of mental disorders, they are more often subjected to physical and sexual abuse. And very sadly, whereas a man who's abused will go and drink Tusker, Billy Bariti, or go and kill his neighbor or girlfriend, happens these days, women internalize. And that is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity. Because, as we have said, women find it easier to talk about their feelings than men. And who better than a gynecologist? For if you give a woman the opportunity, she will tell you, Daktari, asante sana, I am very, very grateful, but now that you ask, mimi nachapwa sana siku hizi, hata silali, hata nilikuwa nikifikiria nijitoe uhai. It is to you that they will come, not to us. We are a completely useless line of defense. The other thing, and this was demonstrated in Kisumu by a very impressive study that was reported on recently, the DAPA study, women have incredibly good network systems, whether it's in church, with JAMA, and so on. If you do good to one woman, the chances are she will tell another woman. So it becomes a public health activity of sort. Again, this was demonstrated to our satisfaction. Next slide, please. So let's come very specifically to the disorders. This I will not go into any detail about because I hope the studies, after the slides will be demonstrated, rather distributed to you. But these are the symptoms that a woman who has post-traumatic stress disorder will present to you. I don't know whether this happens to you in your consultation rooms, but my expectation is that there may be occasion when a woman will tell an obstetrician or a gynecologist, kwetu kulikuwa na mambo. I saw this very serious incident in which so-and-so was injured and was bleeding. What your patient is telling you is, please examine me, doctor, to see if I may have other symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. The problem with our training currently is that we are not trained to improve clinical outcomes. We are trained, particularly in the public sector, to clear queues. If you are fortunate and was properly trained by Professor Ojuang, you will know that what you really want is to hear what your patient is telling you. The DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, number 5 of the American Psychiatric Systems, recognizes premenstrual dysphoric disorder as a disease. It's a recent insertion. 5% of women in the reproductive age have recognizable disease called PMDD. Why is this important? It is important because you obstetricians and gynecologists see PMDD more than we do. Oftentimes, employers will argue foolishly as follows: si wanawake wote hapa wana hiyo mambo, kwa nini wewe ndio unasema hatuwezi kuja kazi kwa sababu hata angalia yule yuko kazini na iko na hiyo mambo? Wewe ni mtu wa namna gani? Now, this employer shaming of women is a subject that will be brought to you before it is brought to us. And when we see it, by the time PMDD gets to us, it's a very severe, sometimes disabling condition. We are nearly done. I'll try and do our motula by finishing quickly. Yes? Next slide, please. Now, let's start with the simple stuff. This thing of postnatal blues is another subject that I think we need to get out of the way. Postnatal blues is not a disease as such. When 50% of a population have that condition, and there is no need to make song and dance about it. And all of you see it literally every single day. Next slide, please. What has been demonstrated as squarely your province as obstetricians is postnatal depression. And remember, this postnatal depression is a serious condition for the mother because of all the things that I have already described. But remember, it also affects the newborn, and you are condemning your child, if you don't diagnose this, to diarrheal diseases, reduced incidence of immunization, low rate of gaining weight. All the parameters of health occur when you have a depressed mother. And this is a serious condition because it affects mom and her baby. This is the one that everybody knows, puerperal psychosis. We were taught this by Fred Marty. We are taught this one by Professor Gaby. Surely you remember Gaby? The man who used to jump up and down like this. Horrible fellow. Oh, terrible man. And it's a serious condition. But and again, it is to you, it will come first. The important thing you want to remember about postpartum psychosis is the last bullet point. That it may last for weeks, sometimes months, but recovery is full. It can be very scary to a young husband, to a young family, but if properly treated on time, this is one of those conditions that have an excellent prognosis. Next slide, please. We are coming to the end. This was just to let you know that in my book, there's a difference between boys and girls. It doesn't matter what they tell you there about those things that they say. And from adolescence, girls have more instances of depression than boys. Boys abuse substances more than their sisters. Boys are more likely to be injured by stabbing each other and hitting each other on the head. Boys are weak in the extreme. So if you have boys, please don't separate from your wife or from your husband, because your sons will suffer more than you. It is true. This is just, I didn't say this is just the way science is. And very sadly, boys succeed in killing themselves. Next, I thought I would say something about fathers. Because as my friend Kamarogo has always told me, where there is a woman, there is a likelihood that there is a man. And where there is a man and a woman, there is a likelihood that there will be pregnancy. And then he used to say, and where there is pregnancy, the likelihood is that there will be some abortions. And therefore, it doesn't matter who you are. You can hide your head under the sand, but remember that as long as there are men and women, that maneno will always be there. Look at the second bullet point from the end. We ignore the husbands of pregnant women. And actually, we do that at our own peril. There's a small group of men who internalize the symptoms of their wives. They complain of bloating, vomiting, backache. It's true. And if you laugh like this man is laughing to a man, he will go and drink pombe, then he will neglect your patient, and then the pregnancy outcome will be very poor. Listen to these young men who are bloating like their pregnant wives. It's completely real. It's also true, and I said I'll be shocking you once in a while, the frequency of depression in men whose wives are pregnant is higher than the general population. Can you believe it? You think, because you think logically, that it is the women who get depressed. True, they get depressed, but the husbands also have more likelihood of being depressed. Next slide, please. Now, there's a subject that I am allowed to speak about. I encourage you to speak about it. And this is the question, again, that will be brought by your patients to yourselves. Erectile dysfunction. Who, other than an obstetrician, will receive the confidence of a young woman who will say, kuna shida nyumbani? Now, shida nyumbani of that nature, contrary to what we have all been led to assume, can be a manifestation of cardiac disease. So by the time you start laughing at a young man because he's disabled, remember it could be a manifestation of cardiac disease, or prostatic disease, or depression, low self-esteem, alcohol use, normal aging, or, like in the last bullet point, it could be an indication that your patient, not mine, your patient is having a problem in the relationship at home. I told you I deliberately changed the topic I was given, not because I'm a bad man, but because I imagine that what you want to hear from me is how important you are in the entire ecosystem of healthcare delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, I have scared you. This is not by accident. This was because that was my job charged to me. Last slide, please. So, like all good teachers will tell you, I am going to give you one or two messages to take home. The first one is, whether you like it or not, my brothers and sisters, you have multiple opportunities to identify mental disorders. Unique opportunities. The fact that you don't is the evidence that I need to do more work. It's nothing to do with you. My fault. The second one is that mental disorders arise from social and biological causes. There has been an effort over the years of pushing the biological agenda to the exclusion of adverse childhood experiences that I talked to you about before. Not true. The human person is affected by biology, menopause, and other things, but also by the way that we treat each other. I hope I have convinced you, ladies and gentlemen, that mental disorders are common, very, very, very common. The fact that you don't identify you don't identify them is the evidence that your teachers are not as good as they will become in future. I have suggested to you, and this is true of all medical conditions, that early detection is key. And I have told you, did you give them those QR codes? Everybody's got those QR codes. These little things here that you've been given, they are good bookmarks. But when you have time and you get to wherever it is that you're going after this presentation, and you scan with your camera, that QR code will take you to a site, the Chiromo site, where there are 6 or 7 self-assessments. Now, the self-assessment tools are for you, first of all, because, as we have been told, one of the highest risk factors for mental health is being a doctor. Shall I say that again? If you want to have a high risk for mental illness, become a doctor. Surgeons are the worst. Yeah, sorry, Dr. Hongo is a surgeon. Yeah. So you can do your own self-assessment. Just go to that website. But it is these little things, self-assessment tools, that I would like you to persuade to have even in your waiting rooms. Yes? Because it will give you an opening into discussing with your patients. We've been told that maternal mental health impacts future generations. The science, when I see what's going on in the Middle East or the Ukraine or what we do to ourselves with post-election violence, as an old man, as a grandfather, my heart bleeds because it's okay almost to kill old people. But mothers who are carrying their babies are carrying that trauma into the next generation. So much as we are threatening each other here, we are ensuring that we will have a generation coming of people who don't care for each other. As we come to the end, my conviction, and by way of thanking you, Mr. President, there is much more room for collaboration between mental health workers and you in obstetrics and gynecology. And coming back to my original thesis that there is no, please forgive me, sir. Coming back to my original proposition, there is no place like Kenya. Yes? I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, it's only in Kenya that Obstetrics and Gynaecological Society will find it in their place to invite an old man whose life is coming to an end shortly to come and address you on a day like this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir, for the brilliant talk. I think all learned the importance of mental health in our practice. And it's something to think about every day, and of course, figure out ways of collaboration with our experts from psychiatry and related areas. So, as it has always been our tradition, I'd like to us to recognize our visitors and our guests this afternoon for the brilliant talks they have given us, the time they have offered us. But maybe before I call for the guests to be recognized in front, I'd probably want to invite the President to recognize the Governor and Her Excellency, the First Lady.
Thank you once again, Secretary. It has been an afternoon of a lot of learning. It has been an afternoon of beautiful presentations. It has been an afternoon of satisfaction. We are privileged and we are satisfied. If I would metaphorically say, we have eaten and we are full, satisfied. And that has been because you have Your Excellency and Madam Excellency, you have prepared us a meal which we have always thought about, a meal that we have always imagined, that we can have somebody, you can have a family, first family of Makueni, which can actually come and sit here from morning, take part in our activities, and even promise that we are going to work together. It is indeed a great honor. And because of that, it is my privilege, Your Excellency and Madam Excellency, to actually confer on you. Let me read it for you. Reference honorary membership for His Excellency Mutula Kilonzo Jr. We hereby confer honorary membership to the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynaecological Society, member number HM001. I would like to invite Madam President to actually give these certificates to His Excellency, and also to Madam Excellency. I'll read it out as well. Reference honorary membership for Her Excellency Mrs. Anita Mutula. We hereby confer honorary membership to the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynaecological Society, KOGS member number HM002. So as we confer these honorary memberships, we know that KOGS has a place in the Council of Governors. We know that you're going to work with us. We know that we can call on you at any time regarding anything reproductive health. We are indeed privileged. Madam President, can I give you this honor of handing over the certificates? Yes. There will be a proper certificate later on, but we had to do something for today. HM002. Thank you very much. Over to you, Secretary.
Congratulations, Your Excellencies. Now, let me invite Professor Kihara and Dr. Kabare to present other gifts to His Excellency the Governor. Dr. Kabare.
I will request His Excellency HM001 to please come. The gift. That's Mama's. Let's see. Yeah, wait. You want this one? Yes. Have a seat. What is traditional when you're addressing wazee? Inioskis, Viva, the gentleman in the house. Lazima umpatie shanga, yamaanisha tumempatia uzee. So, for those who don't understand Swahili, you must recognize an elder. We looked for a chair. Where is Marjan? You'll make sure you get him a 3-legged chair. We couldn't get it, but we got everything else. Because the notice was short, we tried to do the best we could. So the first thing we're going to give you is to dress you with the Maasai adornment, a reflection of what? Eldership within our setting. This is Kenyan context brought alive through you. Okay? So, shangwe na vigelegele. Woo! You can tie a knot at the top. Yeah. Ya pili. What is this? What does it signify? No. What does it signify? He protects the women. And we start with HM002. And what is the last one? What does the belt signify? I'll tell you what it should signify. Your Excellency, kama haitoshi, kaza mshipi, kaza mnendo. Excellent. We'll get the bit. Excellent. So, yeah, we'll get a better one. But that notwithstanding, Eru. So welcome to the KOGS fraternity. We look forward to collaborating extensively with you and appreciate you 110%. Thank you so much. The last one. Now, we come from a nation of the big five. Which are the big five? The big five, we have the lion. The lion na simba ni moja. Number 2, elephant. Number 3, buffalo. Number 3. Number 4, cheetah. Number 5, rhino. Now, we are giving you a rhino, but with significance. It is short of extinction. If our women become extinct, I will start with you. So make sure we remain alive. Don't you agree, all of you? Yes, so this just signifies on your sideboard, please, there is a lot of work to be done. Enough is enough on maternal mortality. Great.
I accept the gifts with honor and pleasure. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Madam Governor. Second is Her Excellency, First Lady, Madam Anita Mutula, and I want to ask Dr. Ruth Wamai and Dr. Kigondu to present her with a gift.
Karibu, ma'am. Have a seat. What's her number? What's her number? Meaning? Honorary member number 2. Have you noticed something we have done? We were told by my good friend here, life begins from which unit? It's not global, it's not KMA, But it starts from where? Family unit. So it is not by default. The man must be with the woman. Gentlemen in the house, most of you say you are the head, but we have clearly been shown from mental health, value your woman. Value your woman. You will go far. So, Mama, karibu sana. Now, there are two things I want to give you, three actually. And we will start with this one. Nimeona umejipeperusha sana. We know as we get older, I say we get more wisdom, but that trend tends to become even more pronounced for a couple of years. We want you to remain young. Let this be used as an adornment. Higher. So, as you grow older, you become more gracious. Reflect on this instrument, which I will ask Kigondu to give you, and see the beauty queen, not you. So, keep seeing the you as the young you. You will age by number, but it's just a number. You get more beautiful by the day. And I'm sure HM001, hello, prize it. So, karibu sana, come closer. Yes. Great. So hold on to that. And then finally, mama and baby. I like the way you say, oh, oh. The .comers, the millennials here would be very happy. But let us all remember, the mother is given an opportunity to get the next generation every time. Let us prize her more than we are. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll keep the phone.
Congratulations and thank you very much.
Karibu sana. Thank you.
Dr. Bashir, representative from Ministry of Health. And I'd want to ask Dr. Karithia and Dr. Musimbi. Dr. Karithia and Dr. Musimbi, are you here? Okay. We'll ask Dr. Richard Mogeni and Dr. Ruth to come and present the gift to Dr. Bashir.
You're welcome.
Photo and celebrations, please.
You can't.
So this is for us to honor you for accepting our invitation from the minute, and to also honor the CS for sending you here to represent her. And we also have a book for you personally, which was brought by Chiromolin. It's called Healing the Minds, written by Dr. Frank Jenga. So we thank you so much for attending.
Congratulations, Dr. Bashir. Right. Next is Dr. Frank Jenga. And I'd want to kindly request Dr. Philomena Oende, Dr. Ruth, and Dr. Dan Uluoch to present this eminent professor with gifts.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I'm very passionate about menopause And in the expose by Dr. Njenga, I think he forgot to speak about the midlife woman. So this is a reminder to Professor that the midlife woman is also at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, sir. Then we have Dr. Laura Yengo representing Dr. Shaheen Nilofer. And I'd want to ask Dr. Atisa and Dr. Kennedy Onyango to present this award to her. Dr. Atisa and Dr. Kennedy.
Wow. I think we really would like to appreciate you for coming to grace this occasion. I'm sure it's taken a while, but none of us is feeling tired. And with UNICEF, dealing with the children and with us, so it means that we are starting from preconception, conception, delivery, make sure the child is healthy, and continue onwards. We hope to see you next year, and if I don't jump the gun, probably if you talk nicely, we'll talk to Mr. President, and definitely you can also get honorary membership. Wapi photograph bwana? Kigondo, chapa picha bwana. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then next, congratulations, Dr. Laura. Professor Rulisa. And may I request Dr. Dan Watch and Dr. Ruth Wamai.
Yes, Prof, this is to welcome you back to Kenya again another time to share with us and to thank you for having accepted to grace this occasion. And when you go back, also remember the young ones who are there, take good care of them so that they can keep the generation going. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Prof. Right, then finally, symbolically, we would like to remember our union leader, Dr. Jimvi. And you remain Dr. Ruth and Dr. Dan.
Comrade.
Yes.
Comrade. Comrade.
Power.
Asante sana, Dr. David, for gracing us with your presence and for always, highlighting doctors' issues and the energy that you give it. You do it for it's not just for you do it for all of us, and we really appreciate you. So this is for you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Jambi. So with that, Dr. Ruth, I'd want to invite you to give us a vote of thanks. Afterwards, we're going to have a photo session around this place, and you're invited to stay for a cup of tea after this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Bimbo. So on behalf of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynaecological Society, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for gracing us with your presence at the 48th KOGS Scientific Congress opening ceremony. Today marks the beginning of a new reflection on mental and reproductive health, a journey filled with promise, opportunity, and excitement. And we are deeply honored to have had the privilege of hosting such a distinguished gathering of dignitaries and guests. We would like to express our sincere appreciation to His Excellency, Governor Mutula Kilonzo, and his wife, the First Lady, Her Excellency, Ms. Anita Mutula, for sharing your valuable insights, wisdom, and inspiration with us. Your words have resonated deeply and will continue to motivate and guide us as we embark on this journey. We are extremely excited that you have officially joined our membership, and we look forward to working together. A special thank you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Frank Jenga, the Ministry of Health through Dr. Bashir, UNICEF through their country director, Dr. Laura, FIGO President, Professor Kihara. We had representatives from the Governor of Mombasa's office, our sponsors, our partners, and collaborators for their generous support and unwavering commitment. Your contributions have been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. We're also grateful to our dedicated team of Secretariat, Council members, and event organizers, led by our acting CEO, Dr. Eli Odongo, who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that every detail was meticulously planned and executed flawlessly. Last but not least, to all our guests and attendees and participants, thank you for being a part of this momentous opening ceremony. Your participation has made this opening ceremony truly memorable and meaningful. As we conclude this ceremony, let us carry forward the spirit of unity, collaboration, and innovation that has been ignited today. Together, let us strive to actually make mental health a key component of reproductive health. And with those few remarks, I want to wish you all happiness and a good evening. Thank you so much.